Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Richard Fowler, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. The long-awaited JFK files are out. In part, 2,800 never-before-seen records on the assassination of JFK were released by the National Archives, but hundreds remain classified. President Trump said he had no choice but to heed warnings from the CIA and FBI to keep some of the files secret for further review. Releasing them unredacted could pose irreversible harm to our national security. Here's some of what we learned from documents that were allowed to go public. In the aftermath of the assassination, the Soviets apparently worried they would be blamed for putting Lee Harvey Oswald up to the attack. More on that later. Also, the CIA once intercepted a phone call from Lee Harvey Oswald to the KGB's department in charge of sabotage and assassination before Oswald murdered the president. Another interesting item, a British newspaper received an anonymous phone call about, quote, big news in the U.S. 25 minutes before JFK was shot. So there actually was some big news in here, Kimberly.
You know, it's interesting because this is, I found, to be one of the more fascinating topics. Did you ever think in our, lifetime that they would reopen these files? And it's the question that I'm getting from everyone is, what are we going to find out? Are some things going to be held back? And I said, well, I think we're going to find out what they feel comfortable with us, knowing in terms of what transpired here. And I think it's an important moment in American political history and just in transparency for our government also, because we're a lot of times we'll say to other governments, what you guys are doing, you're not being transparent, you're not being open. I think this shows that actually we trust the American people to know this information, even though this dealt with one of our top secret intelligence, agencies. And to me, that's like kind of the most compelling aspect. I don't know that I necessarily found something in this that was earth-shattering or altered kind of my fact pattern or the chronology as a prosecutor of what I thought went down. But in that very sense, I think it's helpful because people were thinking there was a big conspiracy behind this and wondering what was going on and if our government was keeping secrets from us.
You can't get away from the Russians, Greg. The Russians, they keep coming up.
They're
in every
everywhere.
In this show.
You know what I love about the Russians? They have a department in charge of sabotage and assassination. They play the villain to a T. They'll put the sign up there and say, just go to the Department of Assassination and Sabotage. We have the cloaks over there, and the daggers are in the locker.
Terrible.
By the way, speaking of assassins, some of the best stuff here are the plots to kill Castro. This is the United States now. Contaminated skin diving suit, dusted with a deadly fungus inside. They were also going to booby trap what they called a spectacular seashell. So because Castro enjoyed diving, and they were going to put a shell that had bombs in it, but they couldn't find a large enough shell.
Shiny object.
I want this job. To sit around and come up with fantastic ideas, it's incredible. The only thing is that the problem with this, and I can see why some people are disappointed. It's like when you go to the carnival or a county fair and there's a sideshow and they go like, this is a bearded lady and you're really excited as a 10-year-old and it's just a guy in a dress.
And it pulls off.
Or they say they always say like it's a monster rabbit, but it's like a goat with rabbit ears. And it's like, so I felt like we got led on a little bit. But my last point, Rachel Maddow just hammered Trump over this last night, saying how they couldn't get it right. She's been carnival barking for 9 months over Russian collusion with Trump, and there's more meat on a cricket than that story. So it's like she's essentially going after President Trump for what she's been doing every night from 9 to 10.
We're not clarifying a 60-year-old conspiracy theory. That's that's exactly what happens every night. Jesse. You've done a lot of research on this today, and I wonder what your biggest takeaway was.
Well, we have a team of Waters World researchers going over this page by page, so I really don't want to speak until we know the final decision that we've come to. It is funny off of Rachel Maddow how, the left fantasizes about assassinating President Trump, and then when he doesn't release things that might actually help other countries assassinate him through the CIA documents, now she's mad. So I don't know what
wait
to
a minute.
make of that.
That confused me. She never said that.
No, isn't the left mad because Trump withheld some of the stuff because the CIA doesn't want any of their research and methodology?
I was more confused. I was confused by the first part. When you see.
I want to put like repellent up. No.
Okay.
I was going to
I mean, I absolutely followed everything that you were
Thank you,
saying.
Dana. You know, it goes over some people's heads here.
Those are different documents exclusively obtained by Waters World.
Yeah, we're going to be releasing those documents later on the Waters World show on 8 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing
big
is
seashells, big seashells.
President Trump was asked by the CIA, Richard, to hold some of these documents back, but he has, in 6 months, it will be revisited again. So we will be able to hold all of this information and bring it back up.
I don't understand. The Secret Service knew that he was going to do this, and they should have gotten their act together to release all the documents at one time.
Meaning President Trump or Lee Harvey Oswald?
No. I mean, no. See,
that would be another
Jesse's confused the whole table now. But no, I'm saying that the intelligence agencies knew the president wanted to release his documents. He sent the memo over there.
Well, it was required by the law. In 1992, the law said on October 26th, 2017, this will all be released.
Right.
Unless there's a security concern, which there was, and President Trump heeded it.
Right, and I feel as though that the Secret Service had almost a decade to get their act together and figure out the security concern and deal with it. And I applaud the president for releasing these documents, because I think the American people deserve to know what happened to JFK. And I think now we can put all of these conspiracy theories to bed: the third bullet, the umbrella man, that LBJ did it. All of these conspiracy theories can now go to bed, and we can move on and say he was assassinated. We now all know. We know it was Lee Harvey Oswald, and now we know.
Well,
bravo, Mr. President.
On the 2 o'clock show today, the Daily Briefing, so Jim Woolsey, the former CIA director, was there.
Yeah.
And basically what he said is that there is a theory about this guy who was a Romanian agent, and he defected to the United States, highest level guy. And he said that Khrushchev had wanted JFK assassinated. So there was a plan going forward, but then he called it off. But Lee Harvey Oswald was such a diehard believer that he went forward with it, and then they had Jack Ruby kill him to make sure that there was that you couldn't find that connection. You buy that, Kimberly?
I got to tell you something. For me, some of these theories I'd already heard before, that weren't very revealing to me. And the Jack Ruby stuff I thought was kind of interesting. The other thing about going to get a confession in the hospital, I thought that was kind of interesting, but then really not able to do that. Was sort of a last minute press to try to get that nugget to say, okay, we can wrap this up and close it down. History would have been very different, I think, if they had been able to obtain that. And then just the one other thing, Dana, that I found was really interesting was the phone call. There was an intercept of a phone call connecting, like we talked about the Russians. I mean, they're everywhere, between Oswald, and then also a death threat against him. Those things were pretty interesting that I thought were new and kind of revealing.
I thought that Woolsey was making a lot of sense. Greg, what do you think about this British newspaper getting a warning 25 minutes before the news broke?
Sometimes I just think that is. You get a lot of chatter, I think, all the time, and you get that with terrorist attacks as well. So it may have just been a coincidence. I don't know who warned them. I don't know that part, but it's interesting when what you're getting is a look at what happens all the time, things that you don't know what's going on. When I go back to the Castro stuff, we were doing this too. We were planning to off, the head of a country because, because we didn't like him. And I look at this stuff and I go, this is really amazing. And we must be doing this now, or maybe we don't. But I wonder how many people have no idea what we're talking about, because, it's 50 some odd, what is it, 60, how many years, where are we now? 53 years ago? 50 something?
Yes, 54.
Yeah. 54, yeah. So many humans spend so much time in fictitious worlds, playing video games, that history is not as interesting.
It does also show you how the intelligence community basically is looking through thousands of haystacks, and the chances of finding the needle are pretty slim.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I do think there is a Russian thread here, and the bombshell is...
Pull the thread.
Ready? If he's going to the embassy
and tell us that the emperor has no
Mexico,
clothes.
the Russian embassy, and he's meeting with these assassination squads or something like that.
He also went to the Cuban embassy.
And he's making calls, and he's speaking Russian, broken Russian. They got him on a wiretap. how is it not a conspiracy? And then you look at Hoover, the FBI director, making sure the public doesn't think it's a conspiracy because he wants to what? Make sure that there's not World War III? Because if everybody starts thinking the Russians were involved in a plot to assassinate the president of the United States, they're going to want to go to war.
Well, and that might be why the national security community is still concerned about the release of all these documents. So
true.
That's all we got.
The other thing to add to it is that the Warren Commission, which LBJ put on because people thought that he had done it, and they didn't even have any of these documents when they started their investigation. So it says
that there was tension between the FBI and the CIA. So some things never change. All right, ahead. What does he know? The FBI informant cleared to tell all on the Uranium One deal allegedly has proof the Clintons engaged in quid pro quo with, guess who? The Russians. Details next.
Well, this week we learned who paid for the infamous Russian dossier designed to harm President Trump's candidacy. The Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee. You'd think the chairman of the Clinton team and the head of the DNC at the time would remember funding a smear project like that. But all of a sudden, they've caught a bad case of amnesia.
When did you learn the DNC and the Clinton campaign were behind the dossier?
I wasn't aware of the arrangement at all.
And then how could you have led the DNC and be in the dark about the dossier?
I wasn't aware of the arrangement at all.
Okay, so Dana, that sounds like somebody spent some time with a lawyer.
Probably. And the thing is, it's not like they had been asked about this before. This story originally broke in January. Meaning that there was the dossier and that somewhere within the Democratic Party, they knew that there had been some payments, but it wasn't directly connected to the DNC or to the Hillary Clinton campaign. It was some sort of third-party thing. Well, now we know that actually was basically just money laundered through the law firm. And so they could have found out if they wanted to, but I think that you're right, that she's like, it's better not to know. Yeah. But it is pretty curious that nobody knows where $6 million is spent. I mean, they had that much money on the Hillary Clinton campaign that it didn't matter to them, like where this money was going.
And they wanted to run the country.
The other thing is that Fusion GPS, one of the reasons they pled the fifth is that they don't want to turn over their banking records. And Kim Strassel of the Wall Street Journal has a column about this today. She's been following it very closely. And I would take a look at that in particular because you have the bank records issue from Fusion GPS. You have this denial now from different entities who the New York Times is frustrated because they feel that they were lied to when they were asked about it before. And then in addition to all of that, you have campaign disclosure forms. And anything over a certain amount, I think it's like $200 or something like that, has to be listed. The reason you do it through a third party, like a law firm, which then denies it for several months, is because you don't want to have to disclose that you're doing something.
Yeah, well, okay, so Greg, the problem is this looks very bad for them because they said, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea about that. And I understand they don't want to have like a statement that incriminates them or have any prior inconsistent statements. But it just seems like this was definitely, they were trying to pull the wool over the eyes of the media and the American people.
It does look bad, only if you're looking at it.
Right.
Are you looking at it?
Well, the media, here you have the possibility that the DNC colluded with Russia with the FBI's blessing. That's the other piece to this.
That's smelly.
Yes, the MSNBC crew, though, is still doing stories on how bots influenced the election. I think this might be a little bit more important, and I'm wondering, will the networks, other than Fox News, start embracing the facts? Will CNN look at this and admit that this banana is a banana and Hillary has slipped on it? Or maybe it's an apple, like the apple in the Garden of Eden, and the DNC took a big bad bite of that evil apple, because that could be an apple, or it could be banana. I don't know. Anyway, it's almost as if Hillary deserves a nickname, something about being crooked.
Okay, well, I've got one for you. Fruit of the loom, all that talk. Okay, apples, bananas.
I was referencing the CNN commercial about apples and bananas. Would you like me to go through it again?
No, you did it yesterday.
We have time. It's Friday.
It worked out. All right, so Jesse, you must be particularly enthralled, feel vindicated, and unbelievably intelligent, because this is what you've been saying all along.
That's a great question, Kimberly. The answer is yes, I do.
You needed a confidence boost, thank goodness.
Podesta and Debbie Wasserman, they're either incompetent or they're liars. I believe they're both. So Wasserman also had no idea her IT guy was crooked. She had no idea she was rigging the primary against Bernie until she got canned. Podesta, remember, he was the one that gave his password to the Nigerian king, and it was password.
Password, yeah.
Right, so if you don't know millions of dollars are being paid paid to some firm to dig up dirt on your opponent, then you're either oblivious and you're running a terrible campaign, or you're not telling the truth. I believe both of these people aren't telling the truth. Also, some other nuggets in here.
Sure.
Fusion GPS, this firm they did business with, also worked with the Russian lawyer Natalia. Now, remember Natalia? She was the one that was sent over to Trump Tower to talk about Don Jr. Very interesting coincidence. Also, the firm that the DNC hired to come in was hired by the same Clinton attorney, Elias, or whatever his name is, to say, oh, yeah, you guys were hacked by the Russians over there at the DNC. And then when the FBI said, can we look at the server to investigate? The firm said, no, we got this. No, it's fine. Take our word for it. And the FBI took the word for this firm.
And why would they?
Why would they? So the whole thing smells. And I'm just waiting for Richard to explain it away.
Oh, no, I mean, I agree with Dana. I think we should take a look at Fusion GPS's bank records, because we'll also find Vanity Fair reported in September 2015 that Republicans hired Fusion GPS, and this initially, and the same individual, Mr. Steele, who created this dossier, these Never Trumpers hired him to do work and to sort of unravel what was
No. Steele wasn't related to the Republican.
They hired him to look at Trump's casinos and businesses.
No, but they hired him to look at Mr.
But not Steele.
Not Steele.
They hired him to look at him. They hired. You guys are correct. I was wrong. I spoke incorrectly.
Next.
I will admit my flaws when I make them. Right. So they hired Fusion GPS to look into Mr. Trump. Yeah. Right. And then they fired him right when they figured out that Trump was going to get the nomination.
Yeah.
Democrats, or this particular law firm, hired Mr. Steele, hired Fusion GPS. Then Mr. Steele was hired way after that, and he was also hired after the FBI had already opened up their probe into Russian.
Are you channeling Juan Williams?
No, it's getting out of control.
But I want to.
I don't want to get to the gag order, friends.
So the FBI probe was already opened prior to this dossier being written.
One point about Fusion GPS, which I find interesting, didn't they used to be Wall Street Journal reporters?
Well,
yes.
I don't know about the second guy. Glenn Simpson was.
I just find it, because it's like, I think they realize that being reporters for a population that doesn't pay for their articles isn't as interesting as targeting your talents, to a specific wealthy customer. They're essentially writing in-depth investigative reporting for people who will pay for it. So if I want to do a piece on Jesse Waters, I hire Fusion GPS.
Right, I know. All right, as you know,
that was just an analogy. Don't get any ideas.
All right, tread water for a moment there, Jess. As you know, a gag order has been lifted on a former FBI informant on the Uranium One deal brokered with Russia while Clinton was Secretary of State. He says he was intimidated by Obama administration lawyers not to talk, and now he can. What does he know? We want to know. Here's what his lawyer told Fox News earlier.
He's got all the bribes, and those are recorded, and those are put into an indictment in 2014. We have on the record quid pro quo with the Clintons being paid, Bill Clinton being paid $500,000 by Russian people who were interested in the Uranium One deal going big, and we have the Clinton Foundation getting tens of millions of dollars from the same people involved in the deal. So you've got it right there, the quid pro quo. Now my client can put some meat on those bones and tell you what the Russians were saying during that time about how they were spending money.
All right. Okay. So Dana, jump in the weeds with me, shall you?
Well, I'm gonna go in the way back machine.
Okay. Go.
Okay. So I know this guy Dan McGordy.
Good for you.
He wrote an op-ed in October 12, 2010, and it was all about this deal. And he was questioning, why would we ever do this? And he's talking about the CFIUS process.
Sure.
This is the committee that's going to look. And he writes. CFIUS could start with a simple question. If a U.S. mining company, to say nothing of a U.S. government-backed agency, made a bid for majority control of a Russian uranium mine, what would Russia do? They would never allow it.
No.
And so I think questions about this go way back to why would we have done this in the first place? And they'll probably have to get answered.
And now the smoking gun is the unmasked, so to speak, informant who's been given freedom. Do you have something quick?
All I will say quickly is that there was 9 people on this committee. Hillary was one of those 9 people. So to say that this is all Hillary Clinton is absurd to me.
No, I agree.
No, people are making this argument, and I think it's absurd. She was one of 9 votes. There was 7 other cabinet secretaries and 2 White House officials. Moving on.
Facebook Friday. Come on, everybody.
Greg is like mouthing it to me. No, rap, move on. Facebook Friday. The liberal media hard at work this week to provide cover for Clinton. When all else fails, what do? Blame Fox News. Next.
Democrats like me aren't happy with the attempts to take down Hillary Clinton and turn attention away from President Trump's Russia investigations. But is it really fair to blame Fox News for her dossiers and the Uranium One fiasco? These folks are.
This whole uranium thing comes from Fox News. I mean, this is a closed investigation that came up in Peter Schweizer's book, Clinton Cash, in 2015. It was discredited then.
They've tried to dredge up a series of debunked and overblown stories to muddy the waters and make it look like it was actually Hillary who colluded with Russia. Fox News would much rather talk about Hillary than Donald Trump. That's because the right in the Trump era doesn't have coherent principles or an ideology. It just has enemies, which is why they prefer to inhabit an alternate reality where Hillary Clinton is president.
It's a partisan effort aligned with what the White House has been urging, and Fox and Breitbart, in which there was no consultation with the Democrats in Congress. And I think that tells you all you need to know about whether this is in good faith or not.
So, Kimberly, what's your take?
Yeah, I just think it's, that's incredible. Isn't it? How they can just go ahead and just like run a narrative all the way down the street to say that this is about Fox News. I mean, they so desperately want to whitewash this, and they cover for Hillary Clinton that they'll literally do anything, say anything to blame Fox. It's like literally, there's no new bag of tricks here. It's like they do that despite the fact that when are we issuing, a correction or anything like that, we get excellent sources, excellent news department to provide information. We didn't create the Uranium One scandal, okay? So we're reporting on the news, we're covering it. That's what's happening here. It's called good journalism.
Greg?
Kimberly is dead wrong. They're right. FNC is behind the uranium story. In fact, under the newsroom, Lou Dobbs has been running a sub-level uranium mine, which helps him pay for the rare lemur saliva he injects into William Devane to keep him eternally young.
The heck? Oh, wow, what a freak.
I don't know how you come up with this stuff.
By the way, what was that, the kid, Seth Young, whatever his name is, Seth Meyers? So we don't, he says, they're doing this so they don't have to talk about Trump. Are you kidding? That's all we do is talk about Trump. And we say good stuff and bad stuff. The guy just doesn't watch. What happens with these shows is they have interns. This is what happened with the Daily Show. They have interns or assistants. They sit there and they just watch Fox. These guys don't watch Fox.
And they pull clips.
And they pull little clips, and then they have them sit down, and they're sitting there eating a sandwich, and they're going, ooh, I like that, and they put together a package.
They
have no idea what goes on in this network. They don't know anybody that watches this network. They are just, what they're doing is just repeating these weird fantasies in their head that are fueled by these little snippets that are fed to them like little birds.
It's called Fox News Jello mold.
Yes.
They just put it all together.
Sorry about that.
Where do you buy Fox News Jello mold?
I've got some in the back of my car.
Oh, you have to be here a little while longer.
Yeah.
Clearly, they didn't let me into like the secret Fox News store where I buy the Jello mold. Dana?
Well, you had made a good point before, and it's one that I've tried to make, and others here have as well.
You did?
Which is that the CFIUS
always make
process
good points,
requires sign off by 9 different agencies, okay? But Fox News didn't originate this story. The Hill newspaper did.
Right.
If that reporting turns out to be wrong, well, shame on us. I mean, that would be the case. But the one thing I would say in defense of Fox News is that when any little nugget about any possible storyline that connects to alleged Russian collusion on the Trump campaign happens, it is a full-bore breaking news everywhere else. So I think that everyone should just take a step back. Let us find out a little bit more, meaning the committees should find out a little bit more. And the Wall Street Journal has raised some really good questions about Mueller and Comey being at the FBI at the time. DOJ was a part of the CFIUS process. Did they know that any of this was going on, or was it totally blind? I think that is worth knowing.
Mr. Waters.
Well, you know when a scandal is real when the left blames Fox News.
Yes, true.
These are not just allegations. These are facts.
Right.
You said it correctly. This is based not only on Peter Schweizer's reporting, who's not a Fox News guy. This is based on Hill reporting, which was based on actual documentation, actual files, and actual filings. This didn't originate here. We're just covering it. So to say that this whole story has been discredited, like Toobin said, how has it been discredited? And if it has been discredited, explain why, Toobin. Explain how it's discredited, and maybe you could debunk it instead of just saying, oh, Fox News is doing it. They're saying, you know, that all we want to do is talk about Hillary. Well, Hillary won't go away. We don't necessarily, well, we like talking about Hillary, but since she's hanging around, we're going to talk about her. What else do we have to talk about?
I mean, the president likes to talk about her, too.
Well, how about reporting and covering the news? Like, we're covering this because it's important and significant and raises alarm and concern, and it should. But they want to make jokes about it, so, you know.
I get it. Listen, my take on this is this. I just don't want another House or Senate investigation. There are too many of them, and they get us nowhere. So if people want to discuss this Uranium One thing, then let's get the best prosecutors, some of Kimberly's friends, to investigate it.
So you're calling for a special prosecutor against Hillary Clinton?
You heard it here
Uranium?
No, because you know what? I don't think they're going to find anything. They're going to say there was 7 cabinet secretaries and 2 White House officials, and there was no there. But let's not have another endless House or Senate investigation and get nowhere. Let's get some prosecutors. Let's look at it and let's move on. And we're going to move on from walls to Mohana. There's a lot of costumes causing controversy this Halloween. Jesse hit the streets to find out what people are thinking about the most offensive ones. We'll talk about that ahead. We'll be right back.
Halloween's on Tuesday. As you know, the costume PC police are out in full force again this year. I asked some New Yorkers how they feel about the holiday hysteria. What costumes do you find offensive on Halloween?
For example, like an Indian, or something. I don't know.
Native American.
Yeah, Native American.
But I thought multiculturalism was a good thing.
It is, but there's complex structures to it that add layers and make it more complicated than that.
What the hell are you talking about? Do you know what she's talking about, Gutfeld?
I think she means well, but the thing is, this whole kind of this costume is evil, this costume is good. It's a way to express moral superiority among your peer group. You have to be the first person.
Virtue signaling.
Yes. Now I don't use it anymore.
I got that from you.
Yes, but it's if you could be the first in line to condemn a costume, it's kind of like being the earliest member at church. It's you're in the front pew. That's what because identity politics is a religion. You have penances, you have indulgences, you have confessions.
And there's weird rules.
And there's a lot of weird, and everything it targets, whether it's football or whether it's Halloween or holidays, identity politics infects and then divides.
And there are a lot of rules, as you say, and explain to me, Richard, as a white male in America, why can't I dress up
Thank God you cleaned
as
that
someone from another culture on Halloween?
It's just it's the wrong thing to do.
Tell me why.
Because you offend people.
How?
Jesse, we have this segment is 3 minutes.
I just want to know.
After the show is over, we can have a glass of whiskey, and I will tell you why it's
whiskey.
The wrong
what kind of whiskey though? Better not be Irish.
Bourbon.
Okay, as long as.
But I will just.
Would you like to take a stab at it?
No, I will just give you a list of costumes that you shouldn't wear. How about that?
Go for it.
No blackface.
Obviously, Richard.
Good. I'm glad we're there. Right?
What do you think this is?
No indigenous people outfit. No mimicking of indigenous people.
So you can't dress up as a Native American.
Correct. No indigenous people. That would be the
same
thing.
Could a Native American dress up as me?
No. I would like to see that.
Why? No.
I wouldn't. I think that would.
It would be a boring costume.
So is that culturally appropriating me?
I actually think that would be. I think that'd be offensive. Honestly.
Who you think I would be offended if a Native American dressed up as Jesse Waters on Fox News for Halloween?
I think you would actually get
You're taking offense for me.
I think because you're sort of sick and twisted like that, you would get off on it.
Kimberly,
But I think it would be.
Kimberly, what are you being for Halloween?
Just so you know, there's not a lot of demand for that costume.
No, for sure. There has to be a Jesse Waters
They're
costume.
flying off the shelves, collar up,
There
and a
you
microphone.
go. What am I dressing up as? Well, Jessica Rabbit.
Oh,
Rabbits don't
That
get
is not
offended.
offensive.
Is that bad?
Is that Richard?
Like
What
red
do
hair
you think?
I'm not like. Why am I?
PETA might not
Are
like that.
rabbits
Like,
offended?
am I supposed to be like the PC police here? I'm just saying, just
Yes,
don't
Richard.
do blackface.
I think the best costumes are the ones that, well, as I always understood, the ones that make you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe they
Yeah.
actually did that. They're
Like
supposed
what?
to be a little shocking. Well, like whatever it is that's offending people.
Like
That was
Colin
kind of the
Kaepernick.
point.
Are you going to
Gutfeld,
be something in
if
the parade?
Gutfeld was Colin Kaepernick, threw an afro on,
Don't
threw
pull
his
me.
jersey
Do
on,
not pull me
and
into your
kneeled
weird
for
little
his
world.
candy.
No. I'm going as Tucker
Melt.
Carlson. I'm going. So what I do is I ring the doorbell.
Or
I ring the
Tucker. doorbell
and I go. Then they take a wide shot.
Okay, no, now you're on.
And then
You're
it's
on.
like, then I just go.
No, you're on.
Then I just stare at him like this. And then for about a minute, and then I go,
Like looking
thanks for coming on the
confused.
show. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, do the
got it.
alien astonishment face.
All right,
Yeah, it's-
next, Facebook Friday.
Thank
Don't go away.
goodness.
Yes.
Is that your
Facebook
mom?
Friday. Your question. Is that your phone?
That was Richard's.
All right.
It was not. It was
First question.
Fake news.
Oh my,
This
that
is
fake news.
Halloween
America.
edition, you silly people. This is from Marie H. Go to with you, Kimberly. For October, what's your favorite horror movie and why?
No, it says or show, and you didn't read the rest of it. Fine, it's no problem. So here's the
Yes.
issue for you. I absolutely cannot watch any horror film, scary movie. I am traumatized from a slumber party in 7th grade where I had to
Me
see
too.
like
Carrie.
yeah,
was the one.
Carrie, the Freddy
That was
Krueger,
a comedy.
Friday the 13th, all of that.
That's
Terrifying.
Stephen King's best adaptation was Carrie, I thought. Amazing.
I saw it. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen it. Good?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
But mine is Nightmare on Elm Street. Definitely. I was that for Halloween
what
for
I
a number
said.
of years.
How offensive.
Richard?
Saw.
Oh, yeah, Saw was...
Oh my
But my
God,
problem is I
scary.
can't watch horror movies in movie theaters because I'm the person that talks. I'm like, you stupid, run, girl, run!
Yeah, you can't go
You
to my movie theater.
stupid!
Dana, what do you...
I'm with her.
You're with her? That's a terrible
Oh,
movie.
no.
Yeah, she's with
That movie bombed.
No, she means she's with the K to the G.
Yeah, my parents
I
didn't
know.
let me watch scary movies, and so now I'm terrified.
Me, obviously, Love Actually. Probably the scariest movie ever put to film. You can't. A lot of people, they just throw up. I was in a theater once, and people were just vomiting while watching Love Actually. Yes, they actually banned it in 14 countries. Next question: what is your least favorite thing you ever received when you went trick or treating? Like this, her example is her son once got pencils.
Raisins.
Raisins?
The box of raisins.
Yeah, box of raisins. That's
Your parents have those in the pantry. Don't give them in the treat box.
Wow. Yes, Jesse?
Yeah, fruit or vegetables or pennies.
Pennies.
Anything like that.
Yeah, the
Or
taste
just
of
bad
copper.
candy. Yeah.
Yeah, Bad Candy. Good name for a band. Richard.
Almond Joys.
Yes, I hate coconut.
Oh, send it my way.
Sometimes you
that's
feel like a
Mounds.
nut.
That's Mounds.
Almond
but I
Joys.
think they-
Give me Snicker bars, man. Snicker bars.
Reese's.
Three Musketeers. Give me the good stuff. Don't give me Almond Joys. Come on.
Kimberly?
Spring for the good candy.
Well, you know what? I don't want to. I particularly don't want to get like a granola bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I dislike those. I just don't want it in that moment.
Yeah, like if you have it in your pantry, don't. Like
good.
that shouldn't be what you give
good-
out for Halloween.
yeah.
Like, don't give
my-
me kale chips, right, Dana?
Oh, well, that could be me.
My least favorite thing I got on Halloween was razor blades.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even shave.
Remember when that was
Oh my
going
gosh.
on?
No,
and
but
your
no,
parents
that-
had
you know
to go
that-
through your
I
bag?
think they should call the
don't talk
cops.
about
That's
that.
an
Like the
urban.
kid-
By the way,
somebody
the
giving-
dumbest rumor of all time.
I know, but it's
is
so
razor
bad.
blades and apples, because who would do that? Because the kids would just.
Okay.
If kids got that, they would just tell the police where they got it from. They don't have one documented
That is
incident.
a homophobic
Let's
rumor that is
not-
spread, and
let's
it's really
not
sad.
go there.
Homophobic.
Yeah, because that is what they say. They say that like gay men give out apples
I
with
didn't know
razor
that.
blades.
I didn't know
I never
That is literally that is a homophobic.
I never heard that. All right. Well, I've learned something
There's
new
a
here on the
homophobic
five.
That's why you
That is
always have to
untrue.
DVR. Watch
All right.
the five.
Way
I
to
think
bring
we've had
it
this
up,
question
Greg.
before.
Go ahead.
This is from Milka C. She goes, if you were president for one day, what executive order would you sign? Richard.
Free all my sons. It's the Lauryn Hill song.
Oh, I don't know.
I love them.
There you go.
Wait, what?
That went over my
You never
head.
had the Lauryn Hill
No,
song?
I know, but that's an
Why is
executive
that
order.
order?
Rule the
Executive order?
world.
Oh, so you would just play the music.
Myself.
That'd be your theme music.
KG, what?
I don't know. I mean, Trump's like doing such a good job of killing ISIS. He's putting me out of business because, right, that would be my one executive order. Like, destroy.
Maybe bring back waterboarding, just for
By the way,
just for fun.
I agree. I mean,
Yeah, bring it back.
actually works.
For any special occasion or for specific?
Well, to fight the war on terror.
I just want to be clear.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Dana?
I would do something on adoption to make it
Oh,
easier for people that want to adopt to be able to adopt children more.
That is a very
That
good
is
one.
actually a very
It's actually
constructive-
something that they can and should do.
You're absolutely right.
I would talk more to Ivanka Trump about that.
Ban Radiohead in public places. Everybody knows they're a poor man's Air Supply, and I just think it's time to move on.
You
All
moved
right.
off of Red Hot Chili Peppers.
What? Oh, I hate the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're a poor man's Smash Mouth. Rajan G asks. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Rajan. We're not getting to you.
Wow.
Kathy says, if you had to pick a song to describe you, what would it be? Jesse.
Rocket Man. Definitely Rocket Man. We're going all the way up.
All right. Kimberly, space is utter disgust.
Yes.
If they took that shot, but they didn't.
Thank God. What song? I mean, come on. Haven't we done this one too?
I don't know.
Boy, I can't say it.
Oh, no, go to Dana.
I can't think of the song. It's about a dog.
Oh.
It's a country music song.
Shannon?
That doesn't narrow it down.
Oh, I got it.
Remember Shannon?
What
the
about
dog?
your Girl Crush song you told me you like? You sent me.
Oh, that's a good song.
What other dog songs are there? Shannon, that was the dog that went away. Didn't come back.
Billy Curlington has a song about a dog, I believe.
All right, I got my answer. I mean, one of my favorite running songs, Simply the Best by Tina Turner.
Oh, that's good. That's
What
good.
was Rajan's question?
No, my song,
Segment.
Afternoon Delight, because that's what the 5 is. It's an afternoon delight.
Oh, wow. That was really good.
Starland Vocal Band. No?
No.
You people are young.
All right.
Or I'm old.
The poor man's Beatles.
They're
Poor man's Beatles.
They're rapping you. You did such a good
One
job.
more thing is up next.
Sweating it.
It's time now for one more thing. Okay, workers at the Utgarvik Airport in Alaska were in for a big surprise on Monday. Check this out. This will irritate you, Greg. A 450-pound bearded seal was plopped down in the middle of the runway, so nobody could leave. And they waited for the seal to move. They basically... the pilot said we have low ceilings. To try to make people realize that they got to wait for a second. Scott Babcock captured the moment on camera and said it was very strange to see the seal. I've seen a lot of things on a runway, but never a seal. But you never know what you're going to get in Alaska.
Oh, okay.
KG.
All right, fantastic. So today I had the privilege of being at the Synergy Global Forum where I'm MC and hostess with the mostest and conducting the Q&A. That's me walking out. Jesse, you'd been jealous, had some smoke. It is a fantastic event, the biggest, one of the biggest business events in the world, brings together huge names in business and disruptors. That's Guy Kawasaki, Sir Richard Branson, Steve Forbes, Ray Kurzweil, Jack Welch, and tomorrow from House of Cards, Robin Wright. So it's a 2-day conference today and tomorrow in New York City. And it was like, wow,
Smart people.
Mind-opening, right. Revolutionaries.
Jesse.
Cool. All right, so Waters World this weekend, we have a very big lineup. We have Eric Trump, Kellyanne Conway, and Dean Cain. And as you also know, we did an offensive Halloween costume edition. And we're debuting a new feature. It's called Texts That Haven't Aged Well. Excuse me, Tweets That Haven't Aged Well. We're going to run those for you at the top of the show. You'll love it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, you don't want them to be texts.
Could be from your mom. All right,
That's
Greg.
another thing.
Gigi's show, which is 10 o'clock on Saturday. We got Kevin Sorbo. I hear he's got a movie out. There's Tom Shalhoub on the left there. And there's Kat Timpf having a birthday this weekend. And Tyrus. So it's going to be a fun show. Now, Donald Trump had some kids over trick-or-treating at the White House. They were the offspring of the media. And I love this because even with the children Donald Trump couldn't help but rip the media, their parents, to the children's faces. It's enjoyable.
I cannot believe the media produced such beautiful children. Oh, you're going to grow up to be like your parents? Don't answer. That can only get me in trouble, that question. So how does the press treat you? I'll bet you get treated better by the press than anybody in the world, right? You did a good job. Thank you. You did a good job. Here you did a good job.
That's awesome. By the way, if you noticed, there was my favorite costume of all time in the back there. A unicorn. There she is. It's a unicorn.
My God, look at how cute. Don't you think that's so funny?
I think that's a fun little event.
It's white. President Trump is the most entertaining politician I think we've ever had.
That was hilarious.
Real.
Entertaining.
Yeah. And today when we talked about one of the things that one of the guys had said was that Donald Trump was one of the biggest disruptors that we've seen in the past, and that that kind of volatility brings about change and can be good.
I'm a disruptor.
Every day, which is why it works here.
That's why I go to the doctor.
Amen, the producer's saying in the ear. All right, Richard.
Well, this past week was my mother's birthday. So
happy birthday.
Happy birthday to my
There
mom.
she
There's
is.
Mama Dukes, Pauline. It was her birthday. And so I thought that I would give some advice, and my mom's a single mother, so I thought I would give advice to single mothers. So Fowler's advice for single mothers, especially those raising boys.
Okay.
This is going to be a tough one. It took me a long time to write this. So first, I want to tell you that it is okay. You are doing way, way, way better than you think you are. And I want to say to you that they're listening. We are listening. It might not seem like it because we're distracted with the cell phone, the Xbox, the PlayStation, the TV, but we hear you. And we are listening. So single mother moms out there, we are listening, and you're doing way better than you think.
Toughest job in America.
And I tried to do this without looking at KG.
Thank you, Richard.
If I looked at KG, I think I might have cried. So.
Oh.
She makes me cry every day.
Hey, I remember the name of that song.
What's the name of the song?
The song that from Facebook Friday. It's Like My Dog by Billy Curlington.
Oh,
it's
there you
about
go.
how the dog doesn't ask him where he's been or like to do the dishes or anything. The dog just loves him because he's who he is.
Yeah, but a dog doesn't expect anything of you, so you could end up being just a horrible person. That's, you know,
you
dogs
can't,
have very low
you
expectations.
can't be a horrible person around a dog. I mean, unless you're abusing the dog, and that's obviously very inappropriate.
I wasn't going there, Dana.
Oh, what were you going?
I was just talking about how terrible a person you are around Jasper.
I am a pretty bad person.
An awful person, because Jasper just lets you do whatever you want.
We'll continue that discussion next week. Set your DVRs, never miss an episode of The Five. Special report is up next.
Jasper could not be treated.